Welcome to the Mukilteo Football Show. My name is Miles. The Houston Texans defeat the Chicago Bears 19-13 in a game that was really battled by the defenses. There was two young quarterbacks, up and down play. A cool matchup, though. I circled this one on our schedule episode because how often do you get a reigning rookie of the year playing against the first overall pick? Both of them quarterbacks in prime time in week 2. Just kind of a rare scenario, to view the future of the NFL potentially. Usually, the number 1 overall pick does not come to a team that is worthy of a week 2 primetime game. So this was rare. This was cool, but it was defensive. C.J. Stroud was sacked by the Bears quite often. They were making stops, and the Texans defense was just blitzing the hell out of Caleb Williams. Forcing Caleb Williams to force some throws downfield that were intercepted. Ultimately, both teams are under 20. I know that every national pundit, including every single one of them on NBC for some reason, said that nobody is talking about the defenses. Everyone's only talking about Caleb and Stroud, but how many people saying no one is talking about the defenses mark the point at which you can't say that anymore? Because that was everybody's line. And if they listen to the Mukilteo Football Show on Thursday, I did say take the under on this game. The young quarterbacks, good defenses, prime time. The over-under had actually been going down throughout the week, indicating people were following that Mukilteo Football Show betting advice. The defenses were good. It's really hard to tell with the Texans defense. Are they coming out hot here? Because they were growing a little bit more last year. They didn't really perform in a playoff way. They definitely wouldn't have got to the playoffs if it wasn't for C.J. Stroud having one of the best rookie years of all time. Are they turning a corner? Are they upping under DeMeco Ryans? Or did they just face kind of two wild card inconsistent quarterbacks in the first 2 weeks? Anthony Richardson last week, Caleb Williams this week. The pressure is, it's fun to watch on TV, and you think, the Texans, Danielle Hunter, he's going off. Will Anderson, he's going off. But I don't know. I think we still got a little bit more to examine on whether the Texans defense is for real this year. And C.J. Stroud, not his best game. Again, similar to the Colts game, it's not like he's dominating. But this is actually probably really good for the Texans because there are great C.J. Stroud games coming up in the season. It looks great to the eye test. So we're just talking about execution and performance and statistics more than him taking a step back. He looks great, but we haven't even seen C.J. Stroud at his full power, and yet still the Texans are 2-0, and the Jaguars are 0-2, and the Colts are 0-2, and the Titans are 0-2. Could not be better for the Texans. Nico Collins is a stud. NBC announced him as a superstar. They had a whole package set up. They had Andre Johnson highlights. Though, I love Nico Collins. He is a star. We actually ended our Mukilteo Football Show on Thursday with that statement. Exactly. So, yet another feather in the cap. Don't listen to the whole thing, though. I said the Colts would wipe the floor with the Packers. So, you got to be humble. Nico Collins is awesome. It's not Andre Johnson to me, though, the yards after catch thing is there. It's really like Stroud and Nico remind me of a really young Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson. Nico isn't quite as big and powerful as Calvin Johnson, but he is there. He is in this threshold of superstar wide receiver. And they just look good. in stride, in the middle of the field, on the sideline. Like Stroud to Nico could be a big story this year. On the other side, Caleb Williams, not the best game. It was a step forward. I think everyone agrees with that. There's a little bit more passing game, a little bit more running the offense. He had to come into today with a sense of embarrassment. I was laughing because so many like tickers and headlines and blurbs and comments from the pregame shows and stuff like that would say Caleb Williams, who became the first overall pick to win in week 1 since 2002. And before that was 1983. Like, Caleb Williams has got that tag to him. He's the first one to pick up a win in his first game of his career, or at least in week 1, knowing everybody is hearing that blurb and thinking, yeah, it wasn't Caleb Williams who brought the Bears to a win. Didn't even have 100 yards. He had no touchdowns. The Bears scored on special teams, on defense. Like, every time that statement was said, that Caleb Williams got the win, the viewer, the listener, or the reader is thinking, yeah, but Caleb Williams didn't deserve it. It's like almost like a weird sense of embarrassment for winning the first game that way. So he's certainly, that he wanted to have, more of a say in this game. Maybe some more star power. He did not get that first touchdown. Interesting stat that Tirico threw out, that none of the rookies, I know Drake May hasn't even played, but Bo Nix has not thrown a touchdown. Caleb Williams has not thrown a touchdown. Jaden Daniels has not thrown a touchdown. And obviously, Penix hasn't either, unless he does tomorrow and gets some playing time or something. But just really, none of them have. I don't know. He obviously can't handle the blitz right now, which is rookie stuff. I love the next gen stats popping up, showing us Williams' numbers versus the blitz and versus no blitz. I just want to point out, that's a current gen stat. That's a previous gen stat, dudes. Like, we had this one. we had this one already. The numbers against the blitz. But it was the story of the game, and NBC was like rightly focusing on that. Tirico and Collinsworth rightly harping that narrative, and I was just ready to froth at the mouth if the Texans didn't rush him in that final moment when it was 19-13. Caleb Williams got a chance to go drive the field and get a game-winning touchdown, 20-19. If they had just gone pure prevent, which they did on the first play, and he gave up a 15-yard pass, if they just gone pure prevent and given up that touchdown, I would have been frothing at the mouth today. You better believe that. But it's ugly. I think there's 3 things. Caleb Williams probably underestimated the NFL a little bit. It seems like he's aware of that. He seems like he kind of realized that in week 1, and now in week 2, he got the crap kicked out of him today. We saw improvement already, and he's saying the right things. And then the receivers are like all banged up. DJ Moore looks banged up or out of shape. I think he's banged up. I remember he got a little tweak in week 1. Odunze's got a knee injury. Keenan Allen's not even playing. Like, it's week 2, and already his 3 receivers are hurt. I mean, I know DJ Moore not officially, but clearly something is going on there. And then the offense is just boring. It's Shane Waldron, for one. Sorry, Bears fans. Welcome to that show. I am a Seahawks fan and was a Shane Waldron follower, and I can just tell you, this is what you get. It's boring. It's weak. Shane Waldron is a hack author churning the novels out twice a year. He's elevator music. He's cannon fodder for the good coordinators to face. Like, you just don't want this guy. But this is who they've saddled their franchise to. That's gotta churn some hearts in Chicago. Especially on a day the Packers got to the 800 wins. The Packers got their all-time 800th win. And the Bears seed that first milestone. They were the first to 300, 400, 500, 600, and 700. This has just been an incredible 100-year stretch for the Bears. They were the winningest franchise for so long, and the fact that the Packers caught up to them is only because of 3 decades of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. And now it's possible that the Bears could take this back. They're only like 7 games behind. They'll be getting 800 this year or next year. But to do that, Caleb Williams has to be something. It can't happen again. You can't be counting on Jeff George while the Packers get Brett Favre. He can't be counting on Jay Cutler while the Packers get Aaron Rodgers. Caleb Williams has to be something. You just don't see it today. Nervous feelings have to be bubbling up in the pits of those deep dish Chicago hearts. Mukilteo Football Show. This show is football, everything. NFL history, legacy, ups and downs of a season. We've got shows Sunday, Monday, and Thursday after the primetime games. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Well, week 2, mostly in the books. I want to talk Chiefs and Bengals today. And I also want to talk the Saints, because I think those are the 2 biggest stories of the day. We will be back tomorrow to review the Monday night game between the Eagles and Falcons. And then we got a slew of upsets that it was so nice and tidy to lump them all together in tomorrow's show, as we got to talk about the Lions, the 49ers, and the Ravens all losing 3 of the 4 championship participants last year. And of course, give flowers to the Buccaneers, Vikings, and Raiders. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. It really felt like 2 primetime games today, though. And that's why I wanted to start with Texans Bears and then go to Bengals Chiefs, because that was a great game. Mahomes Burrow, another toe-to-toe close game. Chiefs win it 26-25. And there's all these highfalutin subplots that I certainly am guilty of as too. Like, who's going to be the rival to Mahomes in the 2020s? You know, sometimes it's Josh Allen. Sometimes you think it's going to be, fellow 2-time MVP Lamar Jackson. But then other times you're like, no, it's Joe Burrow. Burrow's got the head-to-head success against Mahomes. And today was a chance to really stamp that narrative even further. But this game wasn't really about Mahomes or Burrow. This was a defensive battle, big plays coming from non-quarterback sources. Burrow came out slinging it to the tight ends, making a big statement. The Bengals were big underdogs, but they were leading this game for most of the game. And then there was the third quarter where the Bengals took the lead back on an 11-play, 70-yard touchdown drive. They got the 4th and goal touchdown. And they had a chance to follow that up with a couple of just security points. And the Chiefs defense just took over. Burrow comes up in the pocket. Chris Jones pops out that ball. Chiefs pick it up. The fumble 6. The Chiefs defense actually scored their own go-ahead touchdown. That's all. That is all that the Chiefs needed from that point. That was the final score, 26-25 right there. And then there was another drive where the Bengals again had a chance to either take the lead, and then Jamar Chase had an absolute tantrum. I mean, just a full-on childish tantrum. He could not let it go. He blew through the refs' first and second warnings, got the flag. Burrow's telling him to sit down. He's still going. Burrow shoves him. He's still going. Zach Taylor's over there intervening, trying to calm down. Jamar Chase is still going. Triple, quadruple, quintupling down that there should have been a flag for a hip drop tackle. And spoiler alert, there shouldn't have. You were wrong. You were really confident, but you were wrong. Which is funny because hip drop tackles are going to be a big source. We've had 2 in the Sunday Night Football games. One the Bucks did to Sam Laporta, and one that the the Bears did today to Joe Mixon that absolutely should have been called. But this one to Chase wasn't. He just had a fit. And it cost them. It was 3rd and 7 from the 40, 15-yard penalty. They ended up with really no chance to get the third down or get the first down, had to kick a field goal, and ultimately gave up that game winner. Which was not the Bengals defense. I don't blame them. I give the Bengals defense flowers as well, because they as good as the Chiefs defense was, the Bengals defense was going toe to toe. Mahomes didn't really do anything today. 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And Trey Hendrickson was a force. The Bengals actually almost won this game. They was within milliseconds, right? 4th and 16 after Trey Hendrickson draws a face, not a face mask, but a hands to the face penalty because he was going to get the sack yet again, getting the pressure yet again. It's 4th and 16. Mahomes rolls out, finds Rashee Rice, and the Bengals DB just gets there milliseconds early. It's not a horrible call. I was fine with that PI. You know, it was a play that would have been converted if the defensive back didn't get there early. So I mean, that seems clear to me. And I don't even blame the defensive back either, because Rice was open and Mahomes, the ball was on target and it was going to be converted. And the only chance to stop that was to arrive perfectly with the ball. And so the Bengals DB tried. That's a hard thing to do, but gave it up. So Chiefs go 2-0, Bengals go to 0-2. I know the Bengals have been 0-2 for the last 2 years. This is actually technically their best 0-2 because they don't have the Chiefs in their next 15 games. So something to think about if the Bengals can turn it around and maybe get a playoff matchup with the Chiefs again. Last subject today, the Saints. The New Orleans Saints upset the Dallas Cowboys 44-19. Dominance on defense, and we all expected Saints to have a good defense. But dominance on offense for Derek Carr and Alvin Kamara to be absolutely rolling. The Micah Parsons, new look Mike Zimmer Dallas defense was a shock. I guess 2 things can be true at once. We all thought, the Saints scored a bunch of points in week 1. That's just because the Panthers suck. And yes, the Panthers do suck. Look at them getting blown out today by the Chargers. To quote Bart Simpson, they somehow both suck and blow. Bryce Young is a bust. Stop making excuses. Judging by the Reddit post-game thread, excuses have stopped. People are saying that this guy, he's a little boy. Get him out. Bryce Young, he doesn't understand the game. He doesn't have the size. Get him out. Should have drafted CJ Stroud. But the Saints offense wasn't just beaten up on a bad Panthers team. Apparently. It was incredible. And this is a new offense coordinator. Kubiak is in there for the frustratingly conservative Pete Carmichael. The Sean Payton style offense, which is more and more gotten to be this real dink and dunk, give credit to the coaches type of offense. That's what I call Sean Payton's offenses lately. Make sure everyone knows the coach was part of this. And that's happening in Denver right now to horrific results. But the Saints, I mean, Alvin Kamara. Does Mike Zimmer know about Alvin Kamara? I would have never guessed. I would have never suggested to look at the 2020 Week 16 game on Christmas Day in order to inform a 2024 Week 2 game. But Alvin Kamara versus Mike Zimmer defense seems like kind of a recipe for a really good performance. He had 172 yards and 6 touchdowns last time he faced a Mike Zimmer defense. Today, he had 180 yards and 4 touchdowns. That is for a combination. Alvin Kamara in 2 games against Mike Zimmer defenses has 352 yards and 10 touchdowns in 2 games. So I ask again, does Mike Zimmer know about Alvin Kamara? Derek Carr was looking great. I've always been not a fan of Derek Carr, but one of the things I'm not a fan about is his check down. You know, just like his kind of Kirk Cousins-y, well, that was the play type of thing. He feels comfortable. He's pushing the ball downfield. He's hitting deep balls. I don't know. The offensive line was supposed to be one of the worst offensive lines, but yet Kamara is running untouched into some of these touchdowns against a good Dallas defensive line, or at least what we thought was. I don't know. It's week 2. Crazy stuff happens, but everyone's on alert for the New Orleans Saints, everybody. Welcome to the NFL. This is why the preview shows in the summer don't matter at all. All right, I'll be back tomorrow for Monday Night Football. A good night.